Hello, car lovers driving the 2023 Tesla Model 3 standard range with the iron battery there from Cattell. So what to say about this car? First of all, this is an ownership review. I've owned this car now since July 2023. This is meant to be the definitive review. I don't really look at what others have done before reviewing cars, though when I bought this one I looked at a few. There weren't very many good videos, I thought, and there's an overwhelming consensus online. It seems either people love Tesla and find them awesome and gloss over their flaws, or they hate them. All right, and they're generally anti-electric car. This is not the kind of review I'm doing. Those of you who are new to the channel, my name is Chris and I don't do those kind of reviews. Those who know me, welcome back. And well, you're gonna get the high level review, and I'm willing to put up right up there, this is probably the best review in the world that you will find about this vehicle in terms of the appreciation of this vehicle, because you're gonna get the bare bones truth. It's my vehicle. I always give the bare bone truth. However, with this one, it's going to be even more so, because I haven't spent like a day or a week with it. I've spent 18, 19 months, and I've put 45,000 kilometers on it. So, I mean, this is what it is. So let's talk about where I live. I live in the province of Quebec in Canada. All right, that is a very high taxed environment. So why do I say that? From a gas point of view, it is very expensive to gas up. Everything that has to do with cars is very expensive, and there has been a push for electric cars. So for example, when I bought this vehicle, there was a $12,000 rebate. $5,000 was the federal government, which was given to you at the dealer. $7,000 was given to you by the provincial government. This was given to you after, in a complex, lengthy time frame, right? It's a shit show for the province, but for Canada, the rebate was given at the dealer. So that is the rebate. This car was going for approximately, when it came out in 2023, it went for like 56 or 57,000, and then Tesla came out with some rebates as the year was ending, and I thought they were just trying to clear inventory, because back in those days car prices were still going up and up and up, and there was just this idea that car prices were going down was just unthinkable. So I was saying, boy, Tesla's clearing the inventory before they come out with the latest model. So I picked one up. I didn't know that the price would go down even further. I mean, no one could predict that. And that's what happened. So I bought this vehicle, or else I would have waited for the new one. I thought I was getting a great deal. And at the time, it was a great deal. I thought it was way ahead of all its competitors. The Chevy Bolt, the Ioniq 5, for the same money. You were not getting the same equipment. You were not getting the same beauty. You were not getting the same general quality, I thought. I thought the Koreans were a little bit more expensive, and Volkswagen, I'm not even going to buy a Volkswagen ID4. I mean, for me personally, Volkswagen is just not reliable enough, since this is a purchase and I'm going to be putting a lot of kilometers on it. So that was the buying process. I like a sports sedan, and it does the job very well. The exterior styling is one of the geniuses of this vehicle in terms of just the way it looks, except for the front end that looks a little bit generic, a little bit too golf carty, but the rest of the car is very slick in its design, and it translates well for the interior visibility and the interior lighting. This glass roof is wonderful. Forward visibility is great. Sideway visibility is unbelievable. Rear three quarters, okay. Rear vision, pretty good, I'd say. So really, in terms of driver-friendly visibility, it's very high up on the list. I love the way this dash, you get used to it very quickly. You get like this very open view. It feels very wrapped in. You feel part of the vehicle because you can see so well out of it. So nice touch Tesla on that. So that's the exterior style. On the interior now, well, this is the interior. It's a mixed bag. Initially, this car is designed to flash, all right, to flash its strong points and seduce you initially. However, as you live with the vehicle, you find out that you are really in the same box of plastic that's all its competitors are. And that's what I have to say about that. Initially, you sit in the car, the seats are nicely bolstered, but they're comfortable initially. After an hour, they're uncomfortable. They're made out of a leather material that's very durable, but feels quality enough for the price, I'd say, except it doesn't breathe. And then after that, well, the base for your legs is kind of short. The seat floor is kind of short. You do have soft touch material, but they are the cheapest possible soft touch material. The fake wood is a awkwardly nice touch. There's no piano blacks here, which is wonderful. You have a storage bin in the middle. You have places to charge two phones wirelessly. You have here, but charging the phone wirelessly often, especially in the summer when it's not very cold here or there's sun that beams into the car, it heats up and your phone stops charging. I would say the touch quality of these different materials are very good. The bass sound system, which I do believe has a subwoofer, plays relatively well enough. Okay, so that is very nice. And I enjoy listening to the sound system, truly. For a bass sound system, it's wonderful. It's one of the things that made me bought this vehicle. A small, like I said, small steering wheel, nice leathery, soft feel, feels very solid. These stocks are very quality feeling in terms of their interface. And that's what I have to say about the general ergonomics. In terms of space management, it's wonderful. So from a slick low-down car, you get like a relatively spacious front, spacious rear. I'm nice big trunk. This is actually this does better than a lot of seasoned car manufacturers. So very good Tesla on this point. So right away you can tell there's something special. There's something very high level going on here in terms of the engineering. So Tesla has chosen the minimalist path for the adjusting of everything. So for example, this right-hand stalk controls the transmission, but it also controls the self-driving. I'm going to show you guys the self-driving after. Tesla comes with what's called a basic autopilot, at least in 2023 comes with the basic autopilot, and then you could upgrade to partial self-driving or full supervised self-driving, and these were $5,000, I think, and $16,000 options respectively. I took neither. However, Tesla does send you updates and gives you like a free month every once in a while for the full self-driving. The price of the full self-driving has gone down, and it should be noted it is a supervised self-driving. However, more on that later. So what you do is you use this giant screen and you press on the vehicle here, and then it comes like a bunch of menus come up, and you're going to notice anytime I do business, whether I'm raising or lowering the temperature, anytime I do something like that, I'm taking my eyes off the road. So this giant infotainment is beautiful. It is reactive. However, sometimes things do freeze, and you have to press on these two interfaces in the steering wheel, these two roller interfaces. You have to press down on them for like 5-10 seconds to do a soft reset for things to come back online. Something they don't really tell you, Tesla. At the beginning, I had to really look for that. And then everything comes back to normal. It happened only twice that happened at the very beginning of ownership. On the left-hand side, you have like the self-driving. On the right-hand side, you have the map. If you want the nice map, you've got to take their connectivity, which is $15 a month. I can't stand monthly payments, right? I just can't stand it. So I don't have it, and it does a half-assed job, though certainly the original Google does better, because when you do searches, it gives you like random things that you're not looking for, and you can't, like in the navigation bar, you can't choose very effectively. That is the experience of this infotainment. Very tough to use. You do get heated steering wheel, you get heated seats, front and rear, so you're good for the winter. The system, the ventilation system, there is a defrost. You don't see any grills, which is kind of innovative, and it does project the ventilation very well. So, and there's a little bit of a cold spot here during the winter, but otherwise the air circulates quite well. Not quite up to snuff, like let's say my Acura TLX. My Acura TLX cools the car much faster, and you don't have to run the heating, the HVAC as high level, right? So here, let's say from 0 to 10, during the hot summer or the cold winter, you're at 10 or 9 always, right? And it makes a tremendous racket. I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. Here, let me put it up. So you're arguing over this, and when you're on the highway, the wind and road noise is substantial. So my eyes are always off the road. Anytime I'm doing anything with this infotainment, my eyes are off the road, and it's a danger. It's almost as if this infotainment were made for a full self-driving vehicle, right? Because even with the supervised self-driving, you'll learn later that if your eyes are not on the road and looking here, it will warn you. So kind of like really a screwy, messed up. I miss Apple CarPlay, I miss Android Auto. Every time I get into somebody else's car and they have it, I'm jealous of them. The map feature works better, etc., etc. So when I talk to a lot of people about electric cars, the question comes up, they don't know like the basics of electric cars, and I'll tell you what that is. Really, the basics of electric cars, it's always volts, so your plug. Is it a 110? Is it a 220? Is it a 240? So those are the number of volts multiplied by the maximum amperage. So how many amps? So usually with a 110 wall socket, you have 15 amps max. So you calculate volts multiplied by amps equals watts, right? So if we think about the wall socket, I did the math here. So 110 multiplied by 15 is 1,650 watts. If you think about this battery, it's a 58 kilowatt hour. Kilo means 1,000, so 58,000 watts. 1,650 watts a wall socket. You do 58,000 divided by 1,650, which once again is amps multiplied by volts equals watts. And that should give you a rough estimate of the charge time. So I hope that helps. All right, so if I had a 100 kilowatt hour battery, I would do 100 kilowatt divided by 1.6 kilowatt, right? Or 100,000 watts divided by 1,650 watts. Does that make sense? I know a lot of people don't get that, but that is the principle of charging. And the how fast your battery charges is the lower of the source of the charge and the onboard charger. So if the onboard charger has a limit, even if you give it more, it will not charge faster. So that's why when we're talking about level 1, level 2, level 3 charging, there are limits placed on that. But if you use that formula, you should be able to navigate through that. So this battery is the one made with iron, and it comes from China, and it's that hassle-free battery. Essentially, you can charge it every day up to 100. And that's what I wanted. I wanted no fuss, because I do a lot of mileage. When I get home, I charge, and then the next day I want it to be ready. So I have a level 2 charger at home. It is a 48 amp charger. However, this on the level 2, this model, the max charging, the onboard charger is 32 amps. So it charges, I believe it's 240 or 220, I forget what the standard is here in Quebec, but it's 230 or 220 or 240 volt multiplied by 32 amps gives you about 7,000 or 7 kilowatt, or I think it's 7.2 kilowatt hours they call it. So that's how fast the battery charges. So if you think about it, 58 divided by 7. That's how fast it will take the battery to charge. Now, the battery charges always a little faster when it is empty, and always it takes a little bit more time to charge when it is full. And that is a concept which is too complicated to get into, but I heard somebody once tell me that it's sort of like when power comes to the cars come into an empty parking lot. The first 80 cars of the 100 car parking lot will find parking spaces easily, but then as the parking lot gets fuller and fuller, the cars have to go around and look for more places for parking. That's why you have recharge time from 10 to 80% often. Often manufacturers will talk about 10 to 80% how fast it is, and that's really optimal charging. So that is the idea behind charging. If you don't have an at-home charger, you have no business buying an electric car, no matter what the governments or activists or manufacturers say. If you do not have a plug-in at home, if you do not have a charging station at home, forget it. This is not your car. In fact, no electric vehicle is your car. It's crazy, right? You have no business buying that. You should be buying a hybrid. All right, as far as I'm concerned, if it's your only car, maybe a plug-in hybrid is worth it, but they have such low kilometers that it's kind of weird. And it's a very complex propulsion system, because now you have a hybrid, you have a full electric, and then you have gas, and then you have all this. And I think I would only trust Toyota for that. I wouldn't trust the other manufacturers, because to work on that, it must be crazy. Doing full electric is wonderful because you only have one gear, all right? And the electric motor has basically 10 parts. So it's very, very reliable, the motor aspect of it. The battery, well, it's an act of faith. I went for Tesla because they have experience in that, and it's a company that has a lot of hustle, that's trying to make a name for itself. So I felt it was like the right call to do. Moving on. So this vehicle, I think, has 271 horsepower and 310 pounds of torque. It's a 6-second 0 to 60 car. It is plenty fast. It is rear-wheel drive. For those of you who live in the winter, this rear-wheel drive, in terms of getting you out of snow, performs like an average front-wheel drive, which is kind of amazing. It really is impressive to see and to feel that power being distributed between the left and the right wheel, The left, rear, and right wheel, it's very impressive. And it kind of like, it can get you up hills sometimes. Like it's impressive. I can just imagine what the all-wheel drive system must be like. In fact, I already drove one. I already drove one in 2018, and I remember now, it was impressive. It was extremely impressive. But rear-wheel drive, not a deal breaker in a snowy environment. But if you're going to be in hills, though, of course, it's not going to do miracles. Get a good pair of winter tires, for Christ's sake. So once again, this driving experience, this wind and road noise is incredibly high. And the suspension is set up extremely tight. I mean, this feels almost like a sports sedan-like suspension. It hits bumps pretty hard. It's a four-wheel independent suspension. Not all its competitors offer that. I believe the Bolt doesn't have a four-wheel independent suspension, and the all-equipped Bolt costs more or less the same as this vehicle, and it has all the equipment that has. And that's what I have to say about that. The paint quality is average. The way it's assembled is exceedingly average. And there's an overwhelming feeling that this vehicle feels less and less quality as time goes on. That's my personal opinion. And it feels like disposable goods, like most electric vehicles feel. Like I find after a while, they feel like disposable goods. You treat them like a cost savings measure and not an object of passion. I mean, I have never not detailed a car so much in my life. All right, it's my daily, but nevertheless, I've always taken care of my dailies and scrubbed them. Right now, it's minimal. Wax every 2-3 months, and that's it. And detailing the interior twice a year, and other than that, it's a microfiber once every 3-4 weeks, sometimes even. So that's what the detailing is like. The detailing regime is for this car. It's only been 18 months, but it seems to be okay. I got in a slight accident with this vehicle, and it was repaired. I knocked out a deer. Like, why did I buy this vehicle? Why would I buy an electric car? Because it's kind of like, first of all, I'm passionate about cars, and this is kind of like the Model T, right? It's like the Ford Model T. It's the first mainstream electric vehicle made by the main company that really put electric vehicles mainstream. So there was that attraction. There was the self-driving, which I will show you right now. The self-driving is kind of awesome. Now, this is the full self-driving, so it will drive itself. There's a camera here that watches you, and as long as you are paying attention, you don't have to touch the steering wheel anymore. It will drive itself, and it does a good job 99.8% of the time. There's some things it doesn't do well, and you're going to take control of the vehicle, and which makes me wonder, like, they gave us a freebie last year, and I don't think it's really improved that much since. So I'm wondering, like, when that full self-driving is coming. I'm not sure when it's coming. I'm not ready for it. But nevertheless, it is a significant achievement. So if you pay $10,000 and you look ahead, you are getting effectively full self-driving, which is unbelievable, right? If ever the camera is obstructed, it will require that you put your hands on the steering wheel. So you either have to be looking forward or on the cameras. So let me give you an example of like this screw up. So let's say I'm trying to change the temperature here. I'm trying to put my seats. It's giving me a warning. All right. So that is how shitty the ergonomics are in this vehicle. It's truly terrible. I am not sure I'm going to buy the next one just because they're not going to have the stocks, and I already find it's like busy because sometimes I'm trying to lower the volume, I'm trying to do some things with turning the wipers, everything is coming through the left-hand roller, and it just doesn't work. So not very good. Cool thing here, button here to press to open the door. Door quality feels good enough. This is a decent quality affair, I mean, at least from my perspective. So let's talk about the battery performance and the range, because this is a major factor. You will hear many car reviewers say that you lose on average in winter 30% of your battery. That's full of shit, all right? You can tell right away. I know right away when I'm dealing with a bad car reviewer when they talk about 30% losses in winter. This vehicle does about, see what I'm saying? These fucking noises. See, that threw me off. In the summer, this vehicle is rated at 438 kilometers of range. In the summer, because I drive like an animal, like I drive like an animal, but I don't drive to save energy, let's say, but I don't really exceed the speed limit. And I turn the HVAC full blast. I'm getting 400 on the highway, which is pretty damn good. In the winter, I'm getting between 200 and 275, 300 kilometers of range. So between a 30 and 50, and for a winter, a winter that I don't get, like I get 30% loss of energy, a loss of range, would have to be like a day that it's minus 2 degrees Celsius with a big sun where the HVAC is not working a lot. I might get 30%, but it's very rare. It's usually between, let's call it between 30 $150. How's that? So, well, there you have it. Now you have the full story. And that is, I have noticed that people who don't say that are people who make compromises in terms of the HVAC, or they're outright lying. Especially in Quebec, in the province where I live, people have like this degenerative disease of, once they get in on something, they think they're saving the world and they want to get you on board, right? I bought an electric car. I'm awesome. I'm saving the world. You should be saving the world too. And they gloss over the things that are not awesome about the vehicle. It's 30 to 50%. So I don't know if it's like that in your jurisdiction. I know Tesla owners are just unconscionable ball breakers. They really, like, I have absolutely no bond with other Tesla drivers. I mean, they think they're so awesome, and I just can't get in. I don't know. It's not for me. However, I will say this, that you do feel great not gassing up. All right, that is awesome. The money stays in province, although we can't seem to generate our own power anymore. We used to be experts at that, and unfortunately we've lost that. We're losing that expertise, and that, especially the guts to actually go out and just build a goddamn dam. How has been my overall ownership experience? Well, I find that the infotainment is really, it's a disaster. And I think, and I'm going to predict here, that I think Tesla's, at least North American sales, they will plateau unless they do something about that. Because I think that the car enthusiasts, like for example myself, I have a YouTube channel about cars. Of course I'm a car enthusiast. But I stick my girlfriend in here, and she wants nothing to do with it. It's totally unsimple, and it's distracting, and it's you're gonna get into an accident. I mean, and when you get in accidents in one of these babies, unless it's a light nick, it's a total replacement. As soon as you hit the battery, it's over, right? You need a new car, which is why, by the way, the cost of insurance is very high for this vehicle. It's about like 30% higher for this vehicle than the gas-powered equivalent at the same price. So. That's when, and you don't have garages who work on it. Now the good thing is I haven't been to the garage with this car unless for tire changes. So the maintenance-free promise of Tesla is really exactly that. There is no maintenance, and that is very impressive. So would I buy another one if I had to do it today? Knowing what I know today, I would have waited for the more recent model, because I hear they worked on the sound insulation and the interior quality a little bit. And would I have saved my money for the all-wheel drive? Maybe. But my budget was $50,000, and I wasn't budging from that. It's delivered as promised, and I'm gonna keep this car for a few years. It's my daily, and I put a lot of kilometers on it. So I'll be coming back in a few years and doing an update to see how things are, to give you like a real world experience. I think I covered everything. I think that, oh yeah, one more thing about the HVAC system is that there is a de-icing cycle in winter, which means that it will diminish the heat that's being output for a small amount of time, the time it takes to de-ice. However, I must report that I didn't really feel it that much during the winter. So that's the HVAC. There's another thing too, is that you're gonna have to change your habits. In the sense that you've got to charge your car every night, because if you forget and you're going somewhere far, I mean, even if you're going to stop at a Tesla charging station, first of all, there has to be room. Second of all, it does take time to charge up. It's not like gas. And third of all, they're not all over the place. So, I mean, you have to modify your habits. You cannot forget these things, all right? Because let me tell you, when you start getting down to 30, 25, 20% charge, you start getting nervous because of the variability of this. You know, when you get on the highway at -20, I'm telling you, the charge goes down fast. Though you do get used to it after a while. I must say, 40,000 kilometers, I haven't felt the battery degrade. If it did, I'm not noticing it. So I'm not saying there's no degradation, but I'm just saying I haven't noticed it. The perks of driving an electric car is the instantaneous torque. I put it in chill mode, and why I put it on chill mode is because it's very aggressive, the torque, and I don't need it to be that aggressive. And by putting it on chill mode, you are assuring that you're not going to scrap your tires, right? Because this is almost a 4,000-pound car. It's rear-wheel drive, and when you floor it, I mean, there's a lot of torque being applied to the ground, and it's going to use up a lot of rubber. There's just no question. And so that's the why I put it in chill mode, and you're going to enjoy driving it. Another thing you're going to enjoy about this car is preheating it during the winter. You're going to see all the parts that are made of glass are going to melt, All right, and you almost don't have to brush anything off your car, so that is kind of cool. 10 minutes before you go out, preheat the vehicle, and you get there, your car's all done. Very nice. Would I recommend this vehicle to others? An electric car, if you're leasing, no. I think you'll get the competition. If you're buying, yes. I can, because I think that in my head, in terms of talking to others, speaking to people who've owned Teslas now for a long time, Tesla seems to be the kind of company that has put a premium on reliability. I'm not saying they're Toyota level, but in terms of this infotainment, the drivetrain, the battery, the emphasis on reliability, I think I'm feeling it through their customers. What I mean by long-term reliability, I don't want this infotainment giving out and I have to go to the dealer and pay thousands of dollars and what it must cost to get it fixed. And the battery everything has to do with the powertrain that costs thousands and tens of thousands of dollars. That I can't change, right? This has to last at least 300,000 kilometers, or else I'm never buying a Tesla again. I mean, that's just what it is, or else, because now cars are just too expensive. I mean, my first condo cost me $82,000. So can you imagine, like, me buying a car? Like, now the new all-wheel drive is like, what, 60,000 plus tax? It's crazy, right? So I cannot spend too much for these things. However, I'll give Tesla credit. So far, so good. It's for sure that if Toyota comes out with a compelling model, definitely I would definitely consider buying that instead. I'd have a simpler infotainment. I'd have Apple CarPlay. I'd have Android Auto, which are really just simple things like scrolling. Let's say there's always a song you listen to more than others, right? And there's always a part in the song that you like to listen to full blast, right? And that's just normal human behavior. And well, Tesla doesn't allow, you can't scroll, right, with this interface. And it really, really sucks the bag. Now, I know some people are going to say, well, why don't you put your Apple Music here? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? I have this to say to you. Why don't you go fuck yourself? And I'll do it my way. How about that? It's okay to do it your way. And it's okay to do things in a way that you find is efficient. However, I just feel that the regular customer is not there in terms of this type of user interface. I think we're like, if this were a self-driving car and I would have time to fumble in the menu, it would be no problem, right? I don't have to look at the road. I'd be watching Netflix on my screen, and I'd be willing to fumble. However, since we're not there yet, and ease of use and ergonomic is important, I think the current Tesla design is simply not cutting it. So these things are kind of important. And I think as a buyer, you have to think about that in terms of like, what kind of interface do you want with your vehicle? Now, if you're tech savvy and you don't care, get the Tesla. But if you want things to be simple and you want your interface to be easy, and you don't mind paying a little bit more, I would certainly get probably the Japanese competition if I had to choose. And especially if I were in a lease, it's a no-brainer. I'd go for like probably an ID4 or the Toyota B, whatever acronym it is, or the Hyundai product. But for the purchase, though, I'm very comfortable with this because I'm willing. I can live with this deficiency in ergonomic, and that is the review. I think it's the definitive review for the average person. I think I've taken everything into consideration, and I think I've equipped you well enough to make the decision as to whether or not to buy this vehicle in the future. So that's it. If you enjoyed this video, like it. If you don't like it, don't like it. And if you really like it, well, then of course, you should subscribe. I make car videos every week. They're short resumes, and sometimes it's fun. You don't have to watch every video. Subscribe and just to watch the cars that you are interested in, and just to get a general idea. And that is it.